You're listening to my WorldNet Daily exclusive audio article. Today's WorldNet Daily exclusive audio article is entitled, "A Startling Discovery Regarding COVID Testing." On January 20, 2021, the WHO posted an important bulletin regarding polymerase chain reaction or PCR testing for COVID-19. What else happened on 20 January that was important? That's right, it was the very same day Joe Biden was sworn in as the 46th President of the United States. But I'm sure the WHO release was purely coincidental. LifeSite News claims that the notice was released 1 hour after Biden took office. Although I can't confirm the exact time, the WHO guidance bulletin is dated 20 January 2021. This new guidance will change everything and has caused me to not just say, but to scream, "See, I told you so." The reason is that I and many others have uncovered these facts many months ago, that the COVID tests were far too sensitive, and it appears they were suppressing this information out of both fear and for political gain. Likely millions of people who were told they were positive were not. Millions were forced into quarantine that shouldn't have been. Countless businesses were closed and people permanently laid off unnecessarily. Now some may choose to believe that, as science is rarely settled, except for global warming, this is simply a case of evolved knowledge. That as they continue to learn more about COVID-19, they must adjust for this increased knowledge. And in some cases this would be correct, but not this time. The experts knew long ago what the WHO just admitted to last month, which is why we conservatives have been saying that although the virus is real and deadly to a relatively small cross-section of society, it is not the pernicious pandemic that our benevolent political class and their pet scientists have convinced the lion's share of the public of. And it all comes down to what's called the cycle threshold. The PCR or swab test, that mile-long Q-tip they tickle your brain with, is sent to a lab to be tested. With each cycle the sample is run through, the test is amplified to pick up smaller and smaller traces of the virus. The WHO describes it as such, quote, "The cycle threshold, or CT, needed to detect the virus is inversely proportional to the patient's viral load," unquote. In other words, if the virus is detected in early cycles, the positivity rate is fairly certain. You have COVID. As the cycles continue, the viral load diminishes to the point where the test is picking up traces of dead or dormant viruses that pose no threat to you or anyone who you can come in contact with. This fact about cycle threshold has been well established long ago, and the agreed upon maximum is 30 cycles. Anything beyond this will yield false positives. It's also known through the scientific community that any cycle of 35 or above is useless. LifeSite reported that, quote, "While a PCR test can have up to 60 cycles of amplification, both Dr. Pascal Sacre and the International Consortium of Scientists in Life Sciences, or ICSLS, pointed out that the PCR test data from a cycle value of 35 or more is, quote, completely unreliable. Only non-infectious or dead viruses are detected with cycle values of 35, unquote," the group adds, as even above 30 cycles there is, quote, "a gray area," unquote, where a positive result cannot be trusted. Yet for all of 2020, the cycle threshold for COVID-19 testing was set between 40 and 45 cycles, assuring a majority of false positives. The experts at the WHO, CDC, etc., have known this for a long time, yet these august organizations allowed this high threshold testing to continue virtually without word. And worse, your doctor, who likely informed you of the results, was not given this information. The testing labs were not required to divulge the cycle threshold to your doctor, so the doctors had no reason to question the results. It's almost as if they continued to run cycle after cycle until they discovered something and then called it COVID. For me, this proves once and for all what we common-sense conservatives have been saying since this past summer, and what honest people from the medical and scientific community have been desperately trying to convince the world and certainly Americans of. Yes, the COVID-19 virus is real, but no, it's not serious for the overwhelming majority of Americans. However, the pandemic or panic-demic was and is a created disaster and was and is used for political gain. This, in my opinion, makes the current pandemic hoax the most heinously evil act perpetrated on the whole of America in our history. Nothing even comes close. Why else would they wait until the day of Biden's inauguration to suddenly change the protocol for COVID-19 tests? Thank you for listening.